Hey, I'm Matthew Beauregard with OkToTalk. We match people with great psychologists. Good psychologists are hard to find. When I needed one, my GP didn't have a great recommendation. Google gave me 200 confusing options, and I had to try like 5 before I found one that I was comfortable to talk to. And totally not alone with this problem. So I started a service that matches people with psychologists using a combination of algorithmic and clinician recommendations. But in order to scale, we needed our algorithmic recommendations to be as good as the clinician ones. So what we've done this weekend is build a machine learning model of clinician recommendations of psychologist fit. We take into account consumer needs and preferences. We look at the psychologist's skills and styles. We incorporate all that expertise from our clinical staff, because every time we make a recommendation, we keep track of how it went and what the outcome was. And we look at free text from things that consumers have told us and things the psychologists have written in their profiles. And this was an absolutely heroic effort from the team. We have got so much data cleaning done. We've shown a massive potential for machine learning, and we are on track to show everyone who visits the site a great psychologist for them in the first line of the matches, which we know is all anyone ever looks at, so it's got to be right there on page 1. The other thing I think is really neat is we're finally in a position to understand the things consumers are telling us about what's going on in their own words and relate them back to stuff in our data and outcomes. So here you see things that people are telling us color-coded by how urgent their situation turned out to be. So what this will let us do is the system will know how urgent somebody's situation is, so people in the greatest need can be prioritized. So really looking forward to switching that one on. But the thing that we have managed to switch on, and I'm so excited about this, is the live demo. As we put information in here, you will see the recommendations are coming from the model that we built this weekend, and they get better and more specific as we put stuff in. So you get your choice of stock photography psychologists. These are just stock photos. Actual psychologists are way more glamorous. And so, as we fill in what we need, these things update, and hopefully the perfect stock psychologist is right there for the user. So now is it, yep, big panel of 24, and now you're right in the system. All right. Let's switch back to the thank you team slide, because they totally deserve another thank you. They have been heroic. The things they got Python to do are incredible. Just above and beyond, and so much dedication. So thank you to, we had an awesome team.
Thank you. So why are you asking people gender? Male, female, first of all?
Because often people have a gender preference for their psychologist, and so we need to know their gender along with the psychologist's gender.
Why?
Because we find that 60% of people have a preference for their psychologist's gender, and 90% of them will choose in accordance with their preference.
But if they tell you what preference they have, or their psychologist, you don't need them to self-identify as anything.
We don't. The other reason we do that is a user experience thing. Most people are very comfortable telling us what their gender is.
But particularly people in desperate need for not having to have that choice will be very affected by that. Just be aware, right? If you want to talk about psychology, just be super aware. Binary divisions on gender, don't do it.
It's not a binary drop down, just pointing that out.
Okay.
There's more there.
There was other. Right. I still question it. But anyway.
2% acceptance rate on that.
I also question choosing location and cost as your first parameters as well. Because I think sometimes people, if you force them to say, how much am I willing to spend per session, maybe I'd be more willing to spend more money if I found someone who was really good for me, maybe I saw them less often. So I think probably the pertinent thing is to really find that good connection, that relationship, that trust. I just wonder whether the things to search for, at the moment they look like the low-hanging fruit in terms of databases, but I think you might need to reach for something more relationship-y and avoid the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, that's where the free text comes in, and that was one of the major focuses of this weekend. So we're really pleased to have all of that relationship stuff now in the model.
It seems a bit fraught to me. How do you exclude, really bad psychologists? I mean, how do you, Matt, how
That's
do you
the job of
vet
that's the job of the psychology board.
people? Sorry?
That's the job of.
Doesn't stop them practicing.
It is a regulated profession.
No, I don't mean that. Because there are good and bad psychologists. That's what you're sort of trying to weed out for people. And how are you going to do that?
The way we do it is we have a system-wide satisfaction of 96% because we collect feedback on every single appointment. If a psychologist were to drop down below a feedback threshold, they get a phone call from us and a review of anonymized things that we've been told, giving them the opportunity to lift their game. And if that situation should not eventuate, then we can drop them from this service. They would, of course, be free to apply their trade elsewhere.
By that criterion, the neighbour over the back fence could be a good person to talk to. It's the patient satisfaction, not necessarily whether they're using good practice or not. Best practice, let's say. Anyway, something to think about how you...
It would be unethical of a psychologist not to. Again, that's a question for the board.
Just one last question. So in terms of the platform, who's the actual consumer of it?
The general public. We find they range in all ages, average is 30 odd.
Yeah.
Desktop and mobile, sometimes phones,
Yep.
but we serve Australia-wide all
Okay.
demographics.
So, not being familiar in this space, is it a referral system in terms of GP through to psychologists? Is that a channel as well?
Yeah, we would love to talk to GPs. Lots of people would love to talk to GPs, so they're notoriously hard to talk to. But we would love to get this service in front of GPs who are time poor and would like to know that they're giving their client a great choice of psychologists.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.